Welcome into Main Street Living. I'm Danielle Alvari.
Hey guys, I'm Quincy Carr.
And no Cheryl Nelson today. We miss her.
Yeah, it's like last week it was me, this week it was her, but you are the trooper. You like, hey,
Yes.
I'm here regardless. I
I
love you.
vacation in the summer like a normal person. Um, but before the summer hits, we have something coming up next week. NFL draft, Quincy.
Yeah, and I can be completely honest
Not excited.
as a devoted Cowboys fan, I don't have any expectations. I don't.
I
I
mean,
won't.
it's a loaded draft though. I mean, they're expecting as many as six quarterbacks could go in the first round. They're thinking it could go one, two, three quarterbacks.
It could, because in the crazy part, it used to be like the running game had to be established, but now it's
Not
about the
anymore.
passing. It's about the passing game, so it makes sense
Yeah.
that a bunch of quarterbacks. But like they were showing pictures of Jerry Jones, like he's going to trade up, and I'm like, no, just let somebody else run the team, Jerry. I'm done. After 30 plus years, I'm done.
Well, with Cheryl gone, I feel like we've sort of lost our quarterback, right?
Yeah.
I'm kind of playing backup here, but we might have to draft someone too if she doesn't come back.
Yeah, like Cheryl's like the Peyton Manning, like she calls all the shots. Doesn't hike it just yet. She just calls all the audibles, and we're like, okay, is it
We'll run it.
hike?
We'll run it. Yeah.
Well, luckily we got a lot to tackle on this show today. We're
Oh.
pushing back on global hate, and we're talking about Autism Awareness Month too.
Yes, we still have Autism Awareness Month going on. Of course, we're also going to hear from a revolutionary community market, which is they're really cool things that they're doing. But first, laughter truly is the best medicine. If you don't believe us, then stick with us. Welcome back into Main Street Living. Quincy, I've been thinking about it, and they say laughter is the best medicine. So you're kind of like a doctor, right?
Kind of, sort of, and it also keeps you young and youthful looking too. It's so true that laughter is the best medicine, Danielle, because it does strengthen your immune system. It boosts your mood, diminishes pain, and protects you from, damaging effects of stress. Plus, it's pretty darn fun, especially if you get a chance to tell the jokes too, right? So our next guest, she's committed to keeping laughter going by providing support to comedians. So welcome the co-founder of Comedy Gives Back, Amber J. What's going on, Amber?
Hello. Hi, everybody. Woo.
She came in guns a-blazing. She's ready to have some fun. Now, Amber J, your resume is long, okay? But you worked with a lot of comedians, and a decade ago, you started Comedy Gives Back. So can you tell us what that is?
Yeah. So I like to say 10 years ago, three chicks walked into a bar asking the question, can we raise the vibration of the planet through laughter? And that is when Comedy Gives Back was born. And so we married comedy, charity, and live streaming 10 years ago. Little did I know it would take a pandemic to be an overnight sensation.
Wow.
So you brought up the pandemic. A lot of comedians lost their livelihoods here, right? I mean, they couldn't go out and work at clubs. So what did you guys do to help?
Yeah. Well, the cruise ships closed, the clubs closed, the bread and butter and the middle class of comedians collapsed. And we had this kind of shift 2 years ago to be the safety net of the comedy community. Little did we know it'd be a pandemic that would shift it into high gear. But comics need, so our whole model was to give grants in times of distress and need. Here we are, all of a sudden, a relief organization. So we decided to put on a show because that's what we do. That's where we came from, is comedy, charity, and live streaming. So we can live stream and did live stream. We had a crew of over 100 people in their homes and in command centers, and 90 comedians across 8 hours. We created Comedy Gives Back Laugh Aid.
Wow. That is That is pretty cool. And I know for me, trying to transition to the virtual was very tough because I was always so used to being in front of people. But what has the response been to Comedy Gives Back?
Well, so we raised almost $1 million in the pandemic, and we've given out 1,000 grants to comedians. And so I know that's not like, life altering, but it's enough that maybe they get to feed their family, and keeps us in the game. Comedians, I feel, and it's been our experience, don't get the credit for being the artists that they are. Mm-hmm. Comedians are the soothsayers and the truth tellers and of our culture and society. Mm-hmm. And we must keep you and all the other comedians taken care of so you can continue with your art.
Who were some of the comedians that you guys helped out?
Well, they run the gamut of people you've heard of, and then no names. There were qualifications to become qualified to get the grant. Mm-hmm. We actually served the entire globe, the world, but our focus is the United States and North America. We had, and what came out of it is community. So one of the things that was really cool of Comedy Gives Back Laugh Aid was the green room. So we had Adam Sandler and Jim Gaffigan and Michelle Buteau and Roy Wood Jr. and you name it, all backstage. Like we were backstage here before they went on the main show. Yeah, that was the show. They were, roasting each other, but they were so happy to hang out. And that's one of the byproducts that has come from the pandemic and having us be online is we created Comedy Gives Back Connect. So comedians come together twice a month on various topics, and we do tools, we do mental health, we support the comedy community. But the thing that was most potent and important, and you tell me if you agree, is the connection.
Yeah.
And coming together and sharing, our experiences and our jokes,
So, why do you think comedy is especially important right now where we're at in life?
Well, you were talking to it earlier, it really is our mental health. Comedy actually is proven scientifically to raise our moods, to support our health, our immune systems. Yeah. So without it, we can become ill. Mm-hmm. So, and the next pandemic, the next epidemic is depression.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I struggled with that, feeling like, I wasn't enough because I wasn't doing what I was normally doing, for the years. I've been doing it for 22 years. So for it to come to a stop, it was like, So really quick, I wish we could talk to you longer. Where can viewers go to help?
Come to comedygivesback.com. There are many ways to donate. We have a donor box, and you can also text LAUGH to 707070.
Good. I'm going to contact you today.
Yes.
Thank you guys for keeping the laughter alive.
Thank you.
All right. I love today's show. I love that we're talking to so many people that love to give back. We're going to keep that theme going. So stick with us. Because coming up, we're going to talk to some co-founders from a revolutionary community market. You don't want to miss this one.
Hey, welcome back to Main Street Living. Danielle, I've been told that I'm a generous giver, but sadly, I think I'm looking at the second consecutive year where I'm not able to give back through my annual live comedy event. So It's a little bummer, right?
Yeah, we're always looking for ways to give back, right? That always makes me feel better. It's one of my favorite things to do when I'm in a funk. But we've had to stay socially distant this past year, so it's been difficult. But in June last year, 2020, two artists and educators from Chicago started Alt Space Market, where community members could take what they need and give what they can. So please welcome to Main Street Living, John Veal and Jordan Campbell.
Hello. Hey, thank you so much for having us.
What's up, guys? So, all right, first of all, what is AltSpace and what inspired you guys to launch it?
Absolutely. So AltSpace Chicago, we are a nonprofit based on the west side of Chicago, and we revitalize the community utilizing art and culture as tools of revitalization. We're a faith-based organization. We're very small, but we believe that Black people matter, Black spaces matter, and that our neighborhoods matter.
Yeah, well, that it almost shocked me because as we are thinking about like a whole bunch of things matter now. Jordan, can you tell us about the alt space markets that are in Chicago?
Of course. So what I want to do is kind of lay the foundation. Alt Space Market started first with Faith in Action, right? Faith in Action was our response to all the civil unrest that was taking place here in Chicago on the west side and south side of Chicago. We primarily work in the Austin community, which is comprised of about 100,000 residents. And there's also about 5,000 abandoned spaces, right? That's just to give context. It's also the largest community in Chicago land-wise, but in capacity in terms of per capita, people-wise, is the second. So for us, we saw these discrepancies taking place within the civil unrest and also before the civil unrest. These spaces already existed. Food apartheid was rampant within Austin community. And so we wanted to respond. We had to respond to this. Being that we were men of faith, being that we were men of action, we said, how can we do this? It's through our partnerships. So we were able to get about 100 volunteers together to help us get care packages out to the south side and west side of Chicago, giving out 650 care packages and partnering with neighboring organizations. But we realized is that, we cannot sustain this. This is something that we cannot continue. So how can we use art and combine food and partnerships? And so that's where the Alt Space Market came about. Similar to the little libraries, we looked to these abandoned spaces that there's so many of and said, how can we repurpose this abandoned building right here on the block? And how can we create a space where it can become a small shared economy that the benefits will be greater than just the people who are living here, but also the entire city can replicate this in a way into which it meets the needs.
Brilliant, man.
Truly incredible what you guys did in the past year when everybody else was, having probably the worst year of your lives, and you guys found a way to help. So amazing work. What kind of things are people donating? What things do the markets need more of?
Oh my gosh. So that's the craziest thing. We never know. Each time we go to the market, it's something unique. Sometimes there's, like, for example, somebody donated an air conditioning unit to one of the neighbors, Mrs. Jordan. And it was so amazing because it was something that she had been praying for. And so the next day she goes out there and there it is, a brand new air conditioning unit. But people have been donating plants, books, cleaning supplies, of course, food and produce, even dog and pet supplies, because we know a lot of people have pets. And so it's like, hey, we want to take care of them too. So we put those on the market. Brooms, mops, we've created these like little anchors where you can actually put the mops and the brooms, toothbrushes, hygiene products, of course. And of course, thinking about our women, we've been really focusing on making sure there's feminine hygiene products up on the markets, and women with children as well. So definitely diapers is so important for us to have at the markets. Yeah.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I love it. And John, what has been the feedback?
Well, we've had an incredible response. When we first uploaded the first image of the alt space market to our social media platforms, we had an overwhelming response, and there was a lot of people who wanted to come and visit the market. And I think that provided a moral quandary for myself and Jordan Campbell, because a lot of times when artists work in community, what can happen right after that is displacement or gentrification. And so what we decided to do was we're not going to publicly put out the address of the market, because this is just for our neighbors. This is just for the block. And it's actually all of the markets that we have now are neighborhood run. So we barely have to go and refill them. You know, there's 4 markets that we have now in the city of Chicago, 2 on the south side, 1 on the east side, and 1 on the west side.
Wow.
And, you know, one of the things that we really care about is protecting our neighbors.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I think that's
Well,
one of the great things to come out of the pandemic too, you know, is that you guys are finding a way to bring community back.
And you know what? I want to say that we have a lot of community partners that help us do what we do. And we're really grateful for Grocery Run Chicago, you know, Rebuild Foundation, so many partners that help us on the day-to-day basis watch out for our neighbors.
hey, well, we wish we had more time to get some more information because both of you guys are just a ball of energy, and we certainly appreciate what you're doing. And I'm sure the city of Chicago does as well. Thank you, guys.
Of course, you're welcome.
All right. And the viewers can see how they can follow you there. Thanks again, Jordan and John. And Danielle, someone close to me always used to say, be a cheerful giver, which I think could be the key to fixing so many hateful hearts around the globe. In fact, after the break, we get some insight on pushing back on hate and its effect, that it's had on so many others. So you guys stay right there.
Welcome back into Main Street Living now. Quincy, this last year has taken a toll on all of us. And I think we've all just really had to put an emphasis on kindness, right?
Yeah, Danielle, I know racism and cultural insensitivity have been in one ugly spotlight around the country and even the world for a while now. And our Asian American family, they've experienced an increase of discrimination, which can have an impact on both physical and mental health as well. And we have musician, speaker, and mental health advocate Amy Corey here to talk with us about that. Hey there, Amy, how you doing?
Hey, I'm good. How are you guys?
Doing great.
Good.
Here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no problem. And Amy, I know racism against Asians is not something new, but it's become more common and more visible in the last few months. How has that impacted you?
I think it's unfortunate that any type of racism is still a story. I think because of permission given by a lot of kind of higher powers, the racism towards Asian community has increased. I know in my career, I very much set my mindset to know that this could very much happen because of what I speak about my singing. I think now it's also the fact that, just going out because of my color, it definitely happened, and it's happened recently too. So it's unfortunate that it's still, happening, and it's increasing. It doesn't matter who you are, it's just the color.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're talking about, recently for you, what do you mind sharing your story with us, or what has it been like for you to be a victim of kind of this vicious racism?
It's hard. I think, I'm very thankful that I do have a very good mindset and everything to where, it can happen, an incident can happen to where, I get called out for, the color of my skin, for my people, and the fact of, just someone feeling empowered that the confrontation can turn into that type of hate, that type of racism, and they feel empowered by that. So it makes it worse. To be able to process it, I am thankful for my own mindset in that aspect. But it's not easy. I think, it's the hardest thing with any type of racism is you question something that you should never question because it is just who you are. You are born with it. And the fact that this can influence you to even question that for a minute is very, very hard and very, hard to process because it's just melatonin or whatever makes our skin color. Individuals are so much more different than just the color of our skin. But the fact that that is the most thing that we look at is very hard to process.
You made a very valid point. I know as a person of color here in America, it's something that I'm definitely going to be a part of as well. And I have my ways of processing it. So how do you process just everything?
It's not easy because, like I say, you process something that you shouldn't ever have to process. And I think that in itself is just like you don't know how to, because you really shouldn't as a human, as a person. I've always been so proud of my color. I've always been so proud of being born in Vietnam, being adopted here. I also, because of my mental health struggles, I have, not only my color, but, my self-harm scars. And I just kept remembering how proud I am, and how, this has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with who I am. It is the suffering in someone else. And unfortunately, I am victim number 2 in that. It takes a lot of time to find that understanding, because there are emotions. But I'm thankful that, my mindset is, if you really do think about it, it's very sad for the victim, but it's very, very sad for the person who caused this, because you know that it's very much within their hatred, their soul, and you almost, just feel sorry for them as well. And I think I remembered how much this empowered me at the beginning of my career, and how much more fire and fuel it can add to wanting to make a difference, to be able to feel empathy with so many people, and to show that, no matter who you are in this world, rich, poor, fat, color, it can happen, and it's very unfortunate. But the community and the kindness that I did see out of all of this is that it was just one person. And, I can't, it's every story, because I'm privileged in a sense that it was just verbal.
Gotcha.
So,
well, Amy,
you kind of take it in consideration.
Community. Yeah, I mean, you brought the community, right? And I think we're all wondering, how can we be better allies, right, for our Asian American neighbors? Like, what can we do to help?
I think any type of kindness that is shown, I think we're getting to a point, especially with the pandemic as well, is that we are really looking for the smallest types of kindness. I know when this happened to me, it was one person out of a lot of people, and they just showed kindness, because in that situation, that's what needs to be shown. It needs to be out there that, no, just human to human, not color to color. Just human to human, regular decency and kindness is really what it shouldn't be, because I'm color that people are kind. It should just automatically be there, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah. It should just be. And really quickly, how can people find you and get more information about mental health advice regarding this?
So my website is just amycorey.com, and so is my Instagram and Facebook. And the biggest thing I always share is, because I'm a mental health public speaker, my DMs are always open, because I want to be there for people. I want to feel that I understand them, and that there is someone who listens.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Amy, for being a part of the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, and continue the fight, young lady.
So great to have Amy on. So strong, too, for sharing her story like that. We so appreciate that. But stick with us, because coming up, Quincy, I hope you got your waders, because we're gone fishing.
Hey, welcome back to Main Street Living. Danielle, I was on spring break last week, and we were at the beach, and I saw, I believe it was a hawk. It had picked up fish out of the water, and I'm watching it fly and carry this waggling thing. Like, it freaked me out, because I had never seen something like that before.
You're like, I want a fresh meal. I want a meal that fresh. So yeah, if you are the type of person who enjoys, being on the water, catching your dinner, then a deep sea fishing excursion out in San Diego needs to be on your short list of to-dos. So take a look at all of these fish.
San Diego is a great place for deep sea fishing, because it's home of the largest sport fishing fleet in the world. You can go on a half-day trip, a full-day trip, multi-day trip, all the way up to 18 days to catch tuna and wahoo, or just locally here to catch yellowtail. When booking a deep sea fishing excursion out of San Diego, there's several resources. And of course, the San Diego landings have great web pages. Seaforthlanding.com, fishermanslanding.com, PointLomaSportFishing.com are the perfect resource to book your next fishing vacation out of San Diego. What you need to do if to have fun in the sun while you're out fishing is, of course, you'll have to obtain a California fishing license or a Mexican fishing license, depending on where the trip goes, and then get set up with tackle. All the landings have all the tackle for rental, and they'll give you all the guidance on the boat for catching a lot of fish here in San Diego. All right, let's say you're going out on a full day boat. You're gonna go out, get your tackle at the landing. They'll set you all up with that. You'll get on the boat, generally with about 36 other people, and then you'll head out to sea. Hopefully you pick the right day. I use windy.com to predict the wind conditions, and that's a good way to make sure that you go out on the right day so it's not too rough. And then you'll just go out and follow the guidance of the deckhands on the boat. They'll fully guide you. They'll tie your knots. You'll go get live bait at the bait receiver, live sardines generally, and you'll go out to the fishing grounds, come back on a full day trip that afternoon, early evening, and hopefully with a lot of fish to take home with you. What you should wear out on the water when you're fishing here in San Diego, layers. And that's the key, because you're probably not going to get very wet because you're going to go out on a nice day, but just be prepared for layers because it can get pretty cool on the water. You know, summertime is always the best, from I would say June through September, but prime months actually in San Diego, September, October are probably the two prime months. Best water conditions and probably the most abundance of fish. So as far as taking your fish home, they'll fillet the fish for you on the boat and put it into a package for you, or you can use one of the local processors like Fisherman's Processing that'll vacuum seal and freeze your fish so that you can put it in your cooler and take it home and eat it. Depending on how long your excursion is, you can go anywhere from a half-day trip for around $50 plus your license, all the way up to a multi-day trip that maybe costs several $100s per day. But a full-day trip going to cost you about $150 a day, depending on the Mexican license or California licenses that you need to get. So one thing you need to be aware of is if you have a tendency to get seasick, you definitely want to pick the right day to go out on the water. And like I said before, I use windy.com to take a look at the sea conditions and the wind conditions. You pick your right day and you're going to have a much more pleasurable experience for those that don't spend a lot of time out on the open ocean.
All right, Q, what do you think? Would you go out on the open water?
Probably not, but it looked
That's
pretty
probably
cool.
a no for you. Those fish are scary big. Well, you can catch Pete Gray's fishing segments each Friday on Kaplan and Crew Tonight. And if you're in California, it airs on YourView from 7 to 8 p.m. Or if you want to stream it like the kids do on YourView Sports and the YouTube channel.
All right, well, Danielle, how about we take a deeper dive and explore the gift of hope? We got a little bit more coming up on Main Street Living when we return. Hey, welcome back to Main Street Living. Each month, there's something to be aware of. And April is Autism Awareness Month. And with 1 of 54 children now diagnosed with autism, you can count yourself as lucky if autism has not affected anyone that you may know. Now, the Ackerman Autism Center and the Grant a Gift Autism Foundation are two organizations in Las Vegas. They're working together to support families impacted by autism. And to talk a little bit more about that, let's bring to the show Brian Hager and also Tom Kovac. How you guys doing today?
Doing great.
Great.
Thanks for having us.
Hey, well, great to have you. Brian, I'll ask you the first question. Now, we know that the symptoms of autism can vary. How do you explain autism to someone who isn't that familiar with it?
Sure. So autism spectrum disorder is complex. It's a lifelong developmental disability that typically appears during the early childhood years and can impact a person's social skills, communication, relationships, and self-regulation. Autism is defined by a certain set of behaviors and is a spectrum condition that affects people differently and to varying degrees. Some may struggle with expressing feelings, where they may seem cold and distant, understanding the feelings of others and reading social cues, where they may not understand body language or facial expressions or stand too close. Others may ignore signs of boredom or frustration, have difficulty handling sensory information, where loud noises, bright lights, crowds may bother them, and it may be hard for them to also handle new routines. such as sitting in a different seat in the classroom or a substitute teacher, where others might get super hyper-focused on one single topic or hobby, which sometimes can be unusual at that time.
And you did state one thing, it's about just having an understanding of all the different variations of it. So Tom, like, what are some of the challenges that are faced by families with a child on the spectrum?
Well, from the point of which a child is going to be diagnosed, the biggest challenge is uncertainty and anxiety for parents and family members of that child. They start to ask questions like, what if my child isn't able to live independently? What if my child isn't ever able to get a job? What if my child isn't able to, do the things we all have had, the good fortune to do if we're not on the spectrum, in terms of going to sleepovers and, being asked to the dance and things like that during our youth. So the what ifs of life with a child on the spectrum is probably the biggest challenge. Secondly, it's financial. Autism on average costs a family about $60,000 a year, and that can include lost wages because a parent isn't able to work or has to take time off from work to take care of their child.
Wow. Like, just to put that into perspective, I mean, 60,000 a year could be a person's salary. Brian, like, what are some of the treatment programs that can help people master living with autism?
Yeah, so there's no cure for autism, but treatment can make substantial differences in the life, as Tom referred to. The sooner the treatment starts, the better. With therapy, people with autism learn language, they improve in school, they build on their social skills. Some treatment programs can include speech therapy, where they're learning talking and language skills, occupational therapy to help with the everyday tasks such as dressing and learning to play with their peers. Behavioral therapy to help improve certain behaviors, sometimes troubled behaviors. Social skills to help them relate to others. And then in a school setting, special education to help them learn. Lastly, sometimes medication is needed to help with things like sleep, paying attention, and hyperactivity. Treatment is optimal when it's intensive and sustained over many years.
Wow. Now, Brian, on the last question I had for you, you were talking about the expense. Now, is the treatment usually covered by insurance, or how do families pay for it?
So yeah, like Tom said, it's very expensive, and insurance only recently started to cover some of these treatments, but not nearly enough. So oftentimes families are having to pay out of pocket for services or look to support organizations such as Grant a Gift to help fund some of these treatment therapies.
That's right. Yes. I'm sorry, Tom. Tom said that, not you. Sorry. But Tom, now, what is the mission of the Grant a Gift Autism Foundation?
So our mission is really twofold. One is to be a one-stop shop for families with children on the spectrum, so they can get access to the clinical and vocational support programming that Brian referenced. We want to allow these families, our patients and our clients, not to have to go far to receive the services and programs they need. And then the other aspect of our mission goes, again, directly to what Brian said about the cost and the lack of insurance at times, is that because 70% of our clients and their families are low to moderate income, we're providing a community safety net. And we're providing funding so that these programs, services, and treatments can be available to all families in need.
I like the sound of that. It's a community safety net. And Tom, can you just let the viewers know where they can get more information to support your mission?
Absolutely. Grant a Gift autismfoundation.org. And there you'll learn that we've treated and served over 5,000 families since we started. But you'll also learn that we have over 4,000 families on our waiting list. So any support your viewers can give us is greatly appreciated, because we want to be able to get to those families as quickly as possible.
Hey, well, I certainly appreciate you guys stopping by. Thank you for sharing the information. And again, April is Autism Awareness Month. So thank you guys for doing what you're doing.
Thank you, Quincy.
Thank you.
No problem. Please remember to contact either Tom or Brian for more info. And this was a very informative segment, but just like you would do some friendly, things and, helping other folks out. You also, if you're a tech, you want to get some help too, or you just want to get some tech advice, right? So see what I'm talking about after the break.
right, welcome back into Main Street Living. Quinn, thanks for taking that last one for me. Took a little break there. How'd it go?
Thanks,
Frustrating?
Daniel. Yeah, I kind of struggled at the end trying to close out the segment, but I got through it. I was frustrated, but nothing more frustrating than technology. Okay,
Yeah.
and at times I'm sure we can relate, but Groovy Tech believes it doesn't have to be that way. Now, they actually have a plan to make your future tech encounter stress-free. So let's check this out.
Groovy Tech got started because we realized that there was an opportunity to be able to provide a service for folks and develop a resource for people to be able to turn to for patient and respectful help navigating their technology. We realized that the days of user manual and friendly help appear to be behind us. Groovy Tech offers services all anchored around the fact that we would like to be able to empower folks to be able to use technology independently and on their own terms. We offer in-home as well as over the phone one-on-one personal technology training sessions. Some of the ways we've been able to help folks during the pandemic have been working with people to be able to use communication applications more frequently and easily. So we work with folks with Zoom. We have an entire program dedicated to working from home and helping people make those adjustments, as well as staying at home. So if you're looking for help, ordering food, procuring services, staying informed and entertained, we've helped a lot of people with that during the pandemic. I will say that what went from sort of an elective notion of becoming more comfortable with your technology prior to the pandemic, we've really seen it become more and more essential for people to be able to navigate technology during these times. Groovy Tech works to take the frustration away from interfacing with technology. We'll work with people and teach them how to use different applications that they're being asked to use more and more these days, such as Zoom or FaceTime. And what's great is when you're working independently and one-on-one with a trainer, there's no stupid questions. There's no worry about, oh, do I have to ask this or do I have to learn this right away? We work with you individually, one-on-one, and we really do just go towards the same goals, and we don't come in with a specific agenda or timetable. The profile of a typical Groovy Tech client is, it's kind of hard to pigeonhole one way or the other, but I will say that we work with a lot of people who have experienced tremendous success in their life, and at this point they don't know who to turn to without maybe getting an eye roll or maybe being made to feel inadequate in that space. So it's really people, we have clients that have been heads of law firms, CEOs of companies, lots of different prestigious positions, but the commonality is that there's a desire to connect and to understand how to utilize technology independently and on their own terms. Groovy Tech has many different opportunities for training sessions and programs. For example, our 3-for-2 program is very, very popular and very, very well received because we're able to work with somebody for at least 3 hours in different sessions. And in doing that, you develop momentum, you're able to move on, you're able to tackle frustrations, and ultimately move to a place of much more comfort interfacing with your technology. You can get in touch with Groovy Tech any time of the day if you go to groovytechwithak.com. We also have an incredible dedicated customer care team. They are always very friendly, and they can help you through any of the options, any of the scheduling, any questions you may have that are all related to how to get into the mix and start working with the Groovy Tech family.
Wow, now that is pretty cool. And Danielle, and for the rest of the viewers, you all can find more about Groovy Tech or make an appointment to talk with one of their experts at groovytech.com.
Groovy. All right, stick with us. We're going to keep the groovy times rolling. More Main Street Living up next.
Hey, welcome back to Main Street Living. Danielle, great show today. A lot of fun. And I just hit my desk. You see my computer.
I was going to say, that looks excited. Yeah.
Yeah, great show today. Definitely miss Cheryl. She'll be back to join us again next week. But a lot of giving back. Just thanks to all of our guests here on the show.
Yeah, and what did you think of that comedy grant, Quince? You didn't even know about that.
I had no idea. Like if you know the level of lying I did to bill collectors or the amount of food I wasn't able to consume because I didn't have a grant. So I'm definitely going to follow up with her for
Lying,
sure.
But creative problem solving. It was probably good for your creativity.
Yeah. Well, it definitely did that, and now I got to go get this money back. So yeah, I definitely do that. But you guys can catch us once again on our Cox Contour app. We're always on the go, so you can be on the go as well anywhere.
Yeah, and we always have new episodes of Main Street Livings on Monday nights at 9 p.m. And Quinn, since Cheryl's not here, someone's gonna have to say.
Yeah, and I think I'm ready. Let's make sure she's not around. Okay, here we go. Look, we'll see you
Make sure
guys.
you catch us next week as we take another stroll down Main Street.
You took it.